Welcome to the Media Literacy Lecture Series, episode 16. So far we have discussed minute details about media literacy and its relevance for individuals. In today's context, we are trying to understand the triangular relationship between media literacy, inequality, and empowerment. These are highly interconnected concepts and quite larger abstract level, but highly connected with the individuals, institutions, and policymakers. We have to understand the media literacy from a three-dimensional perspective in order to empower the individuals. Ultimately, media literacy empowers individuals. But in order to empower the individuals, we have to take care about the other dynamic stakeholders, which are potential impact influence over the intervention of media literacy in the society. That's the focus of today's topic. We are talking about inclusivity within the context of media and information literacy. Before moving on to the main area, let us understand the triangular connection between media literacy, inequality, and empowerment. Ultimately, the aim of media literacy in any social context is to empower them. Empower them in the means, the meaning of empowerment is individuals free to take a decision based on their own knowledge system, because their knowledge is free from any biases, stereotypes, influence from outside external factors, and they should have informed decision. They should be able to take the decisions. That's a goal. That's what the broader definition of empowerment, we can say that. So that's what media literacy aims to achieve that. But media literacy, in order to reach out the empowerment, we have in between, we have some bottleneck, some issues. The issues, the sense, media literacy not working in all equally in every section of the society. You know that we are living in a society, either in India or abroad or any other country, take any social context. Definitely you will find the inequality. The simplest term, some individuals might be having a highest degree, post-graduation. Somebody must be dropped out from the school education. Somebody must be having a bachelor's. So you can see the variations. The variation might be to financial reasons, for personal reason, or psychological, educational disadvantage, whatever reason that. So education-wise, we can see the inequality. Income-wise, we can see the inequality. And regional-wise, urban, rural, semi-urban, like that, we can see the inequality. Language proficiency. There's so many socio-demographic variables, variance, determines the inequality. Inequality is a part and parcel of any social context. And media literacy works with those inequality. Higher the inequality, more the challenge for the media literacy intervention to reach out to the empowerment stage. Reason is the media literacy talks about access, and the inequality creates a trouble for individuals to access the right materials. Somebody from rural area, uneducated, and doesn't have good internet connections or equipped latest digital connectivity devices, they may face issues in accessing the right information, whereas comparatively somebody in a rural, urban, having education, having a better income, having a better digitally connected devices, they have easy to access better resources. So access determines the quality of benefits they'll take it for their personal professional life. So you can understand that. Empowerment possible provided they have better resources. If better resources are available, it's quite easy for media literacy interventions. So all this triangle works in that very complex manner. We will try to understand this complexity of this triangular connection between media literacy, inequality, digital inequality, and empowerment. Let us understand the broad concept of MIL and inclusivity. And media literacy, as we mentioned, that always promotes the equitable participation. Everybody is equal. In increasingly digital mediated communication system right now, what we are living today that. And it ensures that every individual is having a more or less similar access similar capability, skills and competency to interpret the content, and they have reasonable resources to create the media content more meaningfully, responsibly. That's what media literacy aims to do that. And digital participation, because largely we are in a digitally mediated communication system. So digital participation depends on various social, cultural, economic, structural conditions. That's equally, in simplest term, we can say the inequality. And media literacy bridges the unequal capacities by developing critical, creative, participatory competencies. And inclusive MIL foregrounds that's a requirement that facilitates justice, equity, empowerment, and social democratic social engagement. So all the participation is the more crucial of media literacy, and participation depends upon the structural conditions available in terms of social, cultural, economic resources. That facilitates that determines the quality of the access. And whatever the differences in terms of quality of access, media literacy aims to provide the adequate competency in terms of criticality and interpretation ability and participatory agency capacity. So this is a broader understanding about the need of media literacy working in an unequal social setup. So how the media literacy works in unequal social structures, that is works in terms of family, different variation within the family, schools, within the school, between the school system, and the community environment in which the individuals are working faces a lot of inequality. Within those all variations, media literacy works in that level. And it's clearly proven through various case studies saying that early exposure disparities, the family with a lower income, with a lower competency, a higher income, urban, higher competency level, that's what says the exposure disparity. If early exposure disparity exists, that shapes lifelong differences in media engagement opportunities. The skills and competency which some individual missed during the early stage. Early stage means the teenage and the young learning period. It will have an effect lifelong in terms of engaging with the media information system. So that a huge compromise for the individuals, those are having a lower resources. Social inequality strongly influence digital skills acquisition and media confidence. The inequality, social inequality is a real life problem, and those population, when they move to online, this inequality transferred from social level to digital. So social inequality is a realistic problem, whereas in so the individuals want to move to online platform is becoming digital inequality. Social inequality is a problem. Digital inequality again is a problem. It's not a technical issue. The problem transfers from reality offline to online, and the same set of people who have the higher resources or same set of people who have lower resources, they move to online and they'll maintain the similar status that lower competency, higher competency. That makes a difference in terms of negotiating their ability with the media and information system. That is the biggest challenge for the media literacy interventions. And unequal infrastructure, that's a reality in the social setup that restrict the meaningful media participation among the disadvantaged groups, unable to access the right content, unable to having a competence in skills to comprehend the content, doesn't have that much resources or knowledge to create the content. That create a disadvantage. That leads to lesser participation. Lesser participation means they may not be able to put forth their voice. They may not be able to get the benefits as deserved for them. And MIL working and identifies and try to find a solution for structural barriers limiting equitable engagement. This is the media literacy is one of the main challenge for that. And in order to make the society or community empowered, and media literacy needs to work. As long as the inequality is being addressed, media literacy can't reach out to the empowerment stage. So now you can understand that how this triangle works on that. And now we will move a little more about digital inequalities and compounding effects. We said that digital social inequality is a problem, and once they move to online digital inequality, again it's a problem. It's a problem needs to be addressed by various stakeholders, individuals, institutions, policymakers, and other interested stakeholders. Digital inequalities accumulate across access, skill, usage, and tangible outcomes. And usage disparities deepen exclusion despite equal devices and internet availability. One of the classic example is currently in India we have 94% of the mobile penetration. Close to 75 to 78% of the population is having internet connectivity. So connectivity is not an issue, at least in the present day context, whereas a couple of decades back, even 10 years back, we were talking about divides, haves and have-nots, but at least that part is being diminished. Now we are mostly talking about the capability of accessing the right content, abilities, competency. We are talking about the qualitative aspect of the connectivity. That's the core issue of digital inequality. Not having a resource is not an issue right now. Digital divide is a little older concept. Currently, this is being refined into digital inequality. Meaningful digital usage requires contextual knowledge, not the mere technical familiarity. So, media literacy versus digital literacy, this is what makes a difference. And providing training about hardware, providing training about browsing, providing training about how to check certain information or hard devices, that doesn't give a comprehensive knowledge system for an individual to access the right content, interpret that properly, and ability to participate in a dialogue. That's the three pillars of media literacy we were advocating completely last many episodes that. And currently in the contemporary scenario of algorithmic and artificial intelligence level that amplifies inequalities. Without a critical literacy and user awareness, that the situation become more complex. The reason is algorithm we were discussing in detail in a separate episodes. We're talking about how the companies, institutions, and online platforms create a profile based on the interactions and interventions within the media and system. And slowly the algorithm takes over about interaction, the nature of quality of interaction with the media system. So that's become more complex nowadays of the media literacy intervention to empower the individuals. And digital capital and social advantage, that's a area in which the participatory level can be enhanced. Media literacy functions as a digital capital, unevenly distributed across social groups, because the competency skills required to handle, access, interpret, participate, that ability is considered as a digital capital. And high socioeconomic status facilitates stronger digital opportunities and cultural exposure. High socioeconomic status in the sense better income, better education, better affordability, and better environment to spend those resources for equipment, connections, learning, education, and other exposure. So high income, high social status always brings stronger digital opportunities. Digital capital always influences civic participation, information access, and social influence. Another classic example is even if you take internet as a whole, And still we can find a huge variation between the global south and global north. And close to 50% of the internet content currently is in English. And in one of the study, we found out that Indian languages percentage are very meager, less than 1%. And European and other Middle East languages, for example, Japanese, Arabic, or German, all they are around 5 to 8%. So the English always maintain the higher status from the very large level of populations accessing it. That's why it's able to contribute more content. You can that the language dominates that, whereas we are catching up with the internet very slowly, and we have the issues about competency skills, and that leads to the lower presence of our languages in the online platform. Unequal digital capital reproduces broader inequality across generations and communities, and this needs to be addressed collectively, holistically, not merely concentrating on technical aspect of the new technology, or the policy should not have a knee-jerk reaction to the new technological developments. Technology changes very fast. The policy cannot be fine-tuned according to new technological changes. Rather, all the technology having a similar characteristics to simplify the issues, to simplify the problem in terms of technological relationship with the society. But the policy should have a broader framework that cannot be changed every 3 months or 6 months, depends on the new technology. And that is what required, and digital capital needs to be strengthened, that enhance the better civic participation, and it has a direct social influence. That's a better participation, brings a better reform, and better resources for the individuals as well as community and collectively. And one of the earliest understanding, even here also we mentioned that early exposure that has its impact on individual very lifelong. That is one of the reasons why many developed countries, particularly European countries, they have a very systematic proper policy framework of educational intervention of media literacy. Media literacy is being developed as a curriculum for not recent development. It's for the last 30-40 years. And this dedicated system in which the media and information is being taught in an early educational level. Children, youngsters are familiarized with the media and its various aspects of information system to handle the those institutions in the early stage. So that helps them to handle them irrespective of their handling radio or television or online or social media or generative AI. So they can handle that, the basic concept of access, understanding and participation. So that is the experiment happened very long years that helps them to move from color television, from magazine. It was started earlier, color magazines in 70s and 80s, to color television, to satellite, cable TV, television channel, to internet, to social media, to AI, artificial intelligence. That they're able to shift from one place to another technology, but still retain the basic media literacy, policy, education intervention. So that's a successful level. And limitation of traditional social-based, school-based MIL, that's a issue. School programs often, and at least in the global south, emphasize technical skills instead of critical understanding. Today we're talking about algorithm, today we're talking about AI. By the time they move out of the school, when they enter the university, they might be facing some other technology. So familiarizing a technology doesn't solve the problem of empowerment. And but that's what the curriculum currently in the global south is being emphasizing that. Instrumental teaching approaches neglect participatory and creative media capacities, and limited school resources restrict equitable access to meaningful digital learning. Pedagogical gaps widen inequalities, especially for first generation of digital learners. And pedagogical gap is existing. The reason is there is no adequate infrastructure platform for teachers and educational facilitators to understand the media literacy and facilitate appropriate intervention, and that creates a pedagogical gap, and that increases the inequality much bigger level. And inclusive MIL, that requires a comprehensive curricula, and that's the need of the hour for the global south, and that emphasizes the analysis, ethics and participation, and not only the curricula, and the curricula needs to be facilitated with appropriate pedagogical intervention, means teacher needs to be trained appropriately about the curricula, and the appropriate pedagogical tools and the platform needs to be provided, strengthened and sustained for a longer period of time in order to create a better digital capital. And what are the institutional material access that we can discuss in the today's context is device availability does not automatically translate into meaningful digital engagement. And two examples I can quote from the today's episode itself. I mentioned that 94% of populations India connected with a mobile, 75 to 78% internet. So here we can connect the device, automatically doesn't create digital engagement. If the 94% of the population is having a mobile connectivity, our language should have a better presence in online. Whereas other languages, European or other Asian languages, at least they have 5 to 8% presence. English is much more bigger, 50% presence in online part. So this is negates whatever understanding that higher the connection, higher the devices, better the engagement. That's not happening. That doesn't relate to that. Better connectivity means better engagement. That doesn't work in that manner. Institutional inequality restrict the usage time, support mechanism, and learning opportunities. We're talking about media literacy for individuals, but media literacy understanding among the institutions itself is the challenge for education interventions. That's one of the reasons why the policy framework is not existing in many parts of the global south, and accordingly institutions are not ready to facilitate appropriate interventions. Rather, they focus more on technical aspect, that devices, technical training, and in 1 year we are doing something else, and a couple of years the technology changes, the devices changes, the curricula, whatever technical curricula we developed has become outdated. The new curricula developing takes another longer period of time. The transition always creates trouble if we are more into technical aspect of the media literacy there. Socioeconomic constraints, and that's what the inequality of the social setup reduces a consistent exposure to supportive digital environments. Lower the income, lesser the understanding, lesser the resources, lower the access, all that inhibits the better understanding. It reduces the participatory level and reduces the exposures, and exposures limits the opportunities and avenues, and ultimately leads to the loss of profit or benefits. So this is the consequences of inequalities. And access disparities disproportionately affect the rural communities and low-income learners. This is the biggest challenge for the policymakers and institutional arrangements. And whereas in the inclusive media literacy efforts, that demands systemic redistribution, ensuring equitable digital participation. For example, many efforts are being taken by the central government to set up the community centers, computer centers across various rural communities, where the common computer platform is being created, and that helps the individuals who doesn't have resources, does not knowledge, to take the help of government services. So that a redistribution is already initiated, and many states are having better community computer centers for facilitating technical facilities for benefiting government role on that. And family also plays a crucial role, and like we regularly emphasize about educational intervention for better media literacy empowerment, similarly, family plays a crucial role in the background level, and it creates an atmosphere, environment for early intervention of media literacy. Parental education strongly influences children's digital confidence and media skills, provided parents themselves are aware about the adequate skills and competencies. And that can be guaranteed if the higher socioeconomic status is being provided there. If higher socioeconomic status is available, the parents naturally should have adequate knowledge about digital content, connections, and skills and competencies. They automatically transfer those knowledge to the next generation. But if the social economic status as lower, middle, higher, that indirectly affects the transmission of information knowledge from one generation to another generation. Home environments significantly differs in digital support and the family guidance and exposure to the next generation. And socioeconomic privilege accelerates the literacy development, and again it's widening the social differences. Intervention must compensate for the limited digital scaffolding for disadvantaged households. And inclusive media literacy efforts, interventions should support the family-based support where structural disadvantages persist. And whenever we are talking about media literacy interventions, we always talk about 3 levels of intervention. Formal intervention, colleges and schools and universities. Informal level, through family support and other informal resources. And non-formal level, and other support beyond the family and media, and the formal level. Formal and informal, that's always available, school and family, and non-formal, the third level in media intervention. So these are collectively these 3 set of resources needs to be mobilized for holistic development of media literacy interventions. Again, the media itself is a platform for better process of empowerment, because media literacy is talking about the media literacy is talking about information system, and that provides a significant platform for better learning, of course, provided a better access and resources available on that. But we have the issues with the media itself. We have the issues in terms of diversity, we have the issues with the representation, we have issues of media biasness and justice. That is one of the reasons why the media literacy is gaining a strength in adequate interventions required. And media generally promotes the inequalities through stereotypical and exclusionary representation, and representation also challenges representation based on what kind of target audience is being used. Programs are manufactured, created for a particular target group, that usually economically affordable groups, because media always targets eyeballs, because that's what they have to sell it to the corporates to get advertisements. Media is a kind of a platform aggregator that in one level aggregates eyeballs, audience, size, and other level that they'll transfer to the corporates for early, easily they'll display their products and services. So that's the kind of negotiation always happens in the media platform. This kind of issues with the diversity and representation and biasness, it compromises extensively and increases the inequality part. And what is a futuristic effort in terms of achieving the inclusive media literacy level? Media literacy fosters equitable civic participation through informed, empowered digital citizens. This is the need of the hour. Inclusive society requires critical engagement with the media system, and redistribution of digital skills required that strengthens the democratic resilience and social justice. And inclusive media literacy ensures fairness and gives adequate voice and dignity to all the people, and give a representation to all the communities and groups in a particular social context. this is the need of the hour, to look at the connection between media literacy, inequality, and empowerment. That's what the focal point we discussed in this episode. Thank you.